Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Mic check. If you guys can hear me, the audio sounds crisp. Please put a 1 in the chat. Please put a 1 in the chat if the audio sounds crisp. That would be greatly appreciated. Sometimes we come on struggle streaming, and your help is greatly appreciated. So let's move on. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hope all is well. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight is going to be a longer stream, not that long, roughly about 45 minutes to an hour. Tonight, I am covering three stories. The headline story is the abuse, the mistreatment of families that are visiting their loved ones and have to undergo these body scanners, and these body scanners are being weaponized. Over the course of the last 6 months, I've gotten numerous emails from individuals, specifically women, that have complained about being denied visits with no justification. Individuals with medical issues who have been denied entry to visit their loved one, being denied entry to their loved one for 6 months, some for indefinite periods of time. And I'm so glad that this story is getting some headway, some segue. I appreciate the coverage of this. But what I don't appreciate is the lack of mainstream media coverage that's just not happening. The mainstream media is not covering this story, family members being denied visits to their loved ones. They're not covering David Walters, who recently pled guilty, was sentenced, and appealed his decision, and is out on bail right now. That is one of the most egregious, disrespectful things that we've seen in terms of what we've seen in the Robert Brooks murder case. Many individuals behind bars are waiting for years for their appeal to be heard. So later, we're going to be going through a J.B. Nicholas article that speaks about what's happening with David Walters. The first story is going to be about yours and my favorite New York governor, Governor Kathy Hochul. And I'm being sarcastic, just in case you're watching me for the first time and you don't know my humor. But she has been one of the biggest hypocrites out there in terms of prison reform, in terms of criminal justice. She's been fully aware of the atrocities, the beatings, the rapes occurring by correction officers against incarcerated individuals, and there have been very little done about it. Very little done. So the first thing I want to do is go over Kathy Hochul and focus on the omnibus package, the Senate bill that she said she's going to veto. She's going to veto, and there's one community activist who actually has called her out publicly and called her a hypocrite. So before we get to the article, I'm going to play the video. It's about 2 minutes long, going over what's happening with Governor Kathy Hochul. So give me 5 seconds. I'm gonna drop that. Oh, and by the way, if there's anyone from any advocacy organizations you want to come on and speak about these Senate bills, speak about Governor Kathy Hochul, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. This link is only for people who are knowledgeable on the omnibus prison reform package. If you want to give a breakdown of the package, let's have a conversation about it, and let's really hear what Kathy Hochul is saying no to, what she's vetoing. So I dropped that link in the chat now. Feel free to click on it. I'm going to play a video, read an article, and then if somebody comes on, I'll be more than happy to have you come on. So let's pull up this video, and we will take it from there, people.
Albany. Today, Robert Brooks arrived at Marcy Correctional Facility 1 year ago and was beaten by several corrections officers. He died the next day at the hospital. Brooks was 43 years old. He was several years into a 12-year prison sentence for assault.
In total, 10 corrections officers faced charges in the death of Brooks, ranging from murder to forging documents. The special prosecutor on the case, Bill Fitzpatrick, said his team identified 5 people who were the most at fault for Brooks's death. Of those 5, Nicholas Anzalone, Anthony Farina, Michael Mishaw, and David Walters all pled guilty and were sentenced to state prison. David Kingsley, the 5th person identified by the special prosecutor as most liable, was found guilty of murder at a trial by jury. He'll be sentenced next Tuesday. Nicholas Kiefer and Matthew Gallagher were acquitted of all charges during that same trial. Now, the 10th former corrections officer involved, Michael Fisher, scheduled to go on trial in the new year, January. Fisher's charged with manslaughter, faces 5 to 15 years if convicted. The judge granted Fisher a separate trial because he faced a lower charge compared to some of the others. Well, today in Albany, activists called on the governor to sign the Omnibus prison reform package.
At the same time, we found out the governor is planning to veto that package, saying lawmakers need to do more. Our Isabel Doherty is live with us in studio tonight. Isabel?
Advocates say this day is about remembering Robert Brooks and others whose families are still waiting for answers. Lawmakers and advocates say the bill is needed to bring accountability, transparency, and safety to the state's correctional system. The Omnibus prison reform bill seeks to address long-standing problems in New York prisons. Supporters point to 3 parts of it, saying it would strengthen oversight, make it easier to report abuse, and help ensure safer conditions for incarcerated people. The bill also included new surveillance and monitoring measures, which supporters say are crucial for keeping prisons transparent and accountable.
It's a collection of 10 bills. It would make a gigantic difference, mainly in the areas of accountability, which has been sorely lacking within our prison and jail system, and transparency, which has been sorely lacking, and in providing avenues for justice for people who have been harmed inside.
And the reason why this is important is because I know, as a former public defender, that the rape and abuse and negativity happens in the murky and dark and unrecorded corners of our prisons.
Advocates say they'll continue pressing the governor and lawmakers until the package is signed, and we now know it won't be until 2026 at the earliest. Reporting in studio, I'm Isabel Doherty.
Okay, there you have it. Let's jump to the article and learn more about what's occurring with Governor Kathy Hochul. So let's move on to the article. I'm going to pull this up. This is CNY Central. The authors are Isabel Doherty and Matthew Benninger. I know Matthew Benninger has covered the Robert Brooks murder trial and Cyan, so we thank him for that. And let's pull up the article here. And we'll take it from there. So just very quickly, 10-second commercial. If you haven't done so already, please like the stream, share it, comment, let me know where you're watching from. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Here's the article. Against inmate advocates' wishes, Governor Hochul won't sign prison reform package yet. Here we go. Albany, New York. Governor Kathy Hochul will not sign the Omnibus prison reform package C she announced on Tuesday. It's just one of several important bills that were made on the governor's desk as the year comes to an end. The bill focuses on prison reform and has been championed by advocates for inmates. Yet Governor Hochul said on Tuesday that while she supports reforming correctional facilities, she will not sign the bill as it is. Her refusal to sign the bill comes exactly 1 year after Robert Brooks, an inmate at Marcy Correctional Facility, was beaten by correctional officers. Brooks died the next day. Hochul's statement is posted below. Today, we remember the life of Robert Brooks 1 year after the brutal attack that resulted in his murder. In the immediate aftermath of that tragedy, we began reforming our corrections system work that continues today. I ordered a full investigation and directed Commissioner Monticello to begin the termination process for all those involved in his death. I visited Marcy Correctional Facility, stood in the very same room where he was beaten to death, and was heartbroken and sickened to think of the actions of those depraved individuals. By the way, I'm getting some comments saying that the audio is cutting up. Do me a favor, if my audio sounds fine, put a 1 in the chat. If you're having a hard time with the audio, put a 2 in the chat, and I will try to make a correction. So put a 1 in the chat if the audio sounds good. Put a 2 in the chat if the audio is not good. Okay, I'm gonna move on, and then if I'm seeing that I'm having an issue, I'll try to make a correction. Let's move on with the order. Oh, we're getting a 2. Okay, let me do something very quick. Okay, I made a modification. Hopefully this works. All right, let's move on. Every single individual who enters a dock facility deserves to be safe, whether they are employed there or serving their time. My administration expedited funding to install fixed cameras in all of our facilities to shine the light on any future wrongdoing, made it law that security staff had to wear and turn on their body-worn cameras, and invested more money in the Office of Special Investigations to fully investigate any claims of misconduct and wrongdoing. I got to pull myself up for a second, and I'll tell you why I'm going to pull myself up. Okay, and the reason why for that is she says very specific things that sound good, but in practice mean nothing. She makes reference to the Office of OSI, which is former correction officers investigating other correction officers. OSI is a joke. OSI does not properly investigate claims from incarcerated individuals, and many of them are buddy-buddy with the correction officers that they're investigating. There needs to be an outside investigation force that goes into our correctional facilities and conducts these investigations and has the power to make an arrest. Expanding OSI is bullshit. Pardon my language. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Governor Kathy Hochul also speaks about these body-worn cameras. These body-worn cameras mean nothing because there are no consequences if they do not turn on their cameras. You saw what happened in the Robert Brooks case. You saw that those 4 cameras that were on standby mode, those officers did not know that they were on standby mode. There's no teeth behind these words. There's no teeth. What has to happen is you must eradicate the collective bargaining agreement that NYSCOBA has with the Office of Employer Relations. You have to eradicate that collective bargaining agreement because this statement, it has no teeth whatsoever. There is no power behind it. So you can recommend OSI, COs investigating their own COs. That makes zero sense whatsoever. Let me go back to the article. I'm sorry, but when I read nonsense statements, I have to call it out. Okay. This is in addition to what Governor Kathy Hochul said. While these investments in safety reforms are needed, there is more to do. I am committed to further action to ensure our facilities are safe, and hopeful the legislator will agree to some common sense changes to legislation currently on my desk that would allow us to advance reforms together. Public safety is my top priority, and I will not stop working to ensure our correctional facilities are safe for all. Robert Brooks should be alive today. Robert Brooks should be alive today, along with the hundreds of other individuals who have been beaten, who have been killed, behind bars. But let's not focus on all these other names, because there are other families who have suffered, who have been unable to get any kind of justice. Let's move on. End prison violence. A major proponent of the bill spoke at Albany on Tuesday, demanding that the governor sign the bill into law. Senate Bill S8415 would require the timely disclosure of video footage related to the death of inmates to the New York State Attorney General's Office of Special Investigation. Mandate state and local correctional facilities to adhere to certain standards of camera coverage of inmates and access to the footage, as well as mandate that facilities give prompt notification of inmate deaths to family. Why is this hard to say yes to? Can somebody make it make sense? Why is this hard to say yes to? It makes no sense whatsoever. Co-founder of End Prison Violence, Rosemary Rivera, said the bill was not radical or crazy. I agree with that 100%. And there was no reason for the governor not to sign it. She called Governor Hochul a hypocrite over her claims of supporting inmates and neglecting to sign the legislation into law. And that's the thing, people. You can't have it both ways. You can't claim to advocate for human rights of incarcerated individuals and want reform and want change. And the moment you have this prison reform package, you refuse to sign it under the malarkey that more has to be done. That's gaslighting. That's political gaslighting, and don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Let's move on. A spokesperson for the governor's office said Hochul is working with the state legislator on the bill. He noted that the governor will have 9 more days to sign it. New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, Daniel F. Martuscello III, released a statement on Tuesday remembering Brooks. Yet, he did not speak on the prison reform package. And of course, he's not going to speak on the prison reform package. This statement, I read this statement in the previous live stream. For the sake of those individuals who have not heard it, I will read it. I will try to bite my tongue, but Daniel Martuscello III is so full of crap. This statement is a political, piece of candy thrown out there. But for those of you who have diabetes, I'm giving you warning about this statement. And if I'll just read it. This is nonsense, but I'll read it. This is from Daniel Martuscello III. This was on his New York State Doc's X account. It has been 1 year since the tragic murder of Robert Brooks, beaten at the hands of now former New York State correctional officers at Marcy Correctional Facility. No one deserves to die the way Mr. Brooks did. You've known about other individuals dying the way he did, and you've done nothing about it. You must step down. Let's continue. The officers responsible for his death violated the most fundamental duty of this profession, and they broke the trust placed in them by the people of this state. Many have already been held accountable and will be serving time in prison. They were supposed to be better than this. We were supposed to be better than this. As commissioner of DOCS, it is my responsibility to ensure we do not look away from what happened to Robert Brooks. No, Mr. Martuscello, you have not only looked away, you have pointed the finger, you have blamed you've blamed NYSOBA, you've blamed the correctional officer union, saying your hands are tied. Get rid of the collective bargaining agreement. While no agency should be defined solely by its worst actors, well, the problem is there are a lot of actors who act this way in our correctional facilities. Let's be real. There's no such thing now. We can't say This is a few bad apples. The whole grocery store is rotted at this point. We cannot deny the impact his death has had on the department, our staff, and on the people in our care. The question before us is not whether we remember, but how we move forward. How do we rebuild trust with the people in our custody, the communities to which they will return, and the families who expect their loved ones to be treated with basic dignity? And this is not happening. Not only are individuals incarcerated not treated with basic dignity, their family members who come to visit are treated like trash. And that's the last story of the night. I would encourage everyone to stay put. Let's move on. And to finish his ex statement, Marticello said, "Prison should be many things, but above all, it should be a place of possibilities." And I'm hearing, soft music in the back with Daniel Marticello running through a field of pussy willows. A place where a life that has gone off course can be redirected. A place where redemption is not theoretical, but real. A place where people leave better than they arrived. Over the past year, the department has carried out targeted security enhancements designed to strengthen safety within our facilities and expand both accountability and transparency to ensure that in all our care have the opportunity to realize these goals. While our work is far from finished, we remain focused on learning from tragedy and delivering a safer, more secure correctional system. That's his statement. If you believe this statement is genuine, this statement is truly about accountability and transparency, let me know in the chat. Let me know. If statement, you think it's genuine, let me know. If not, put that in the chat as well. But let's move on with the article. Former Marcy Corrections Officer David Kingsley was convicted of murder in connection with Brooke's death in Oneida County Court on October 25th. He is scheduled to be sentenced on December 16th. He faces 25 years to life behind bars. Tuesday night, December 16th, we will be covering the sentencing, doing a live stream. So definitely come out for that. Anthony Farina, Nicholas Angelo, Michael LaShaw, and David Walter were all sentenced charges of manslaughter. Farina and Angelo, who were initially charged with murder, were sentenced to 22 years in prison for the crime. LaShaw was sentenced to 3 to 9 years in prison, and Walters was sentenced to 2 1/3 to 7 years in prison. Michael Fisher, who is facing a manslaughter charge, is scheduled to go on trial January 12th. If convicted, he faces a sentence of 5 to 15 years in prison. Okay. All right. Sorry about these audio issues. Hopefully the audio sounds good now. Sandra and Chris Milkey, do me a favor. Put yes in the chat if the audio is crisp again. Again, my apologies for the audio issues. I'm going to move on with the article, assuming everything is good, and we'll take it from there. Body cam video revealed officers punching, kicking, and grabbing Brooks by the neck on December 9th, 2024. The beating occurred the same day Brooks of Rochester was transferred from Mohawk Correctional Facility to Marcy Correctional Facility. He died the next day at 43 years old. Brooks was serving a 12-year sentence for assault after he was convicted of stabbing his girlfriend in Greece near Rochester. His release was scheduled for 2026. In total, 10 former correctional officers were charged in connection with his death. End Prison Violence said it is seeking to make December 9th an annual day of remembrance of Brooks. The organization said it will not stop fighting for prison reform until brutality in correctional facilities ends. And that is the end of that article. That's the end of that article. We have statement, Thomas, again, and Community Without Cages, thank you for all your work that you do. No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think what's more important is the work that these community organizations are doing, boots on the ground, boots on the ground. So thank you for the work. I'm simply a man behind the computer trying to shed some light on some issues. So I'm going to move on to the next article. Again, I'm dropping a, you know what? I'm not going to drop a link for the to come on live. Maybe at the end, if somebody wants to come on, I'll have them come on. I'm going to move on to the next disturbing article, and I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I am very I'm disheartened from all this nonsense. The next article is very disturbing. It comes from the Freelance News, and it involves David Walters, who was incarcerated, involved in the murder of Robert Brooks. He is out on bail pending appeal. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this article now. It's going to hurt. I mean, this is not a good article. Well, the article is great, well written, but in terms of the content, what's happening, very, very disturbing. Very disturbing. Okay. This is from the Freelance. I'm sure everyone knows of JB Nicholas, and who does an amazing job really covering this, boots on the ground. So here's the article. Extremely disturbing guard who admitted killing Robert Brooks granted bail pending appeal. Decision calls into question guilty pleas of other defendants in the Robert Brooks and Messiah Nantry cases. One of the prison guards who pleaded guilty to killing Robert Brooks was gifted an early Christmas present when a state Supreme Court justice in Watertown granted him bail pending appeal on Wednesday. You really can't make this up. Again, I've mentioned individuals behind bars waiting years for their appeal to be heard, not granted any kind of bail. This is really a slap in the face. I can't imagine what the Brooks family must be going through, knowing that this guy he's back out. He's back out. Justice McCluskey set Walters bail at $50,000 cash or a $100K bond. The decision was first reported by WKTV2 in Utica. David A. Longaretta, the primary lawyer for another one of the prison guards accused of killing Robert Brooks, gave Justice McCluskey $250 in campaign cash this past May for the judge's successful re-election bid in November, public records show. Extremely disturbing is what the special prosecutor in the Brooks case, Onondaga County District Attorney William F. Fitzpatrick, called the decision in an electronic message to the Freelance Wednesday morning. Fitzpatrick added, an appellate division judge already denied the application of another defendant on the same issue. That was former Sergeant Michael Mashaw, Fitzpatrick said. Mashaw was sentenced beside Walters on November 21st. Fitzpatrick's office secured their guilty pleas to manslaughter and opposed their applications for bail pending approval. Okay. Fitzpatrick's office secured their guilty pleas to manslaughter. Oh, I read this already. My apologies. Nicholas A. Pasalaquia, my apologies. Walters' lawyer smartly exploited a quirk in the law to get his client's bail application to a Republican judge in one of New York's most rural and conservative counties. Justice McCluskey became nationally infamous in 2019 when he sentenced a 26-year-old man who raped a 14-year-old girl to probation instead of prison. He's also lucky McCluskey was the sole Republican to hold off a Democratic onslaught in the 5th Judicial District to win re-election to a second 14-year term this past November. While most convicted defendants asked the appellate division to consider requests for release on bail pending appeal, Passalacqua applied to a judge in Watertown because of New York's criminal procedure law allows these applications to be made to a justice of the Supreme Court of the judicial district embracing the county in which the judgment was entered. Oneida County, where Walters pleaded guilty, and Jefferson County, where Justice McCluskey is based, are both part of New York's 5th Judicial District. Walters' bail application centers on whether what he pleaded guilty to is actually a crime. While manslaughter is clearly a crime, Passalacqua argued that what Walters specifically pleaded guilty to was not a crime. Walters admitted having a duty to intervene and failing to stop Brooks. According to Walters, although he admitted he had a duty to intervene, he didn't actually have a legally enforceable duty to stop his fellow correction officers from killing a prisoner in their custody. Although the U.S. Constitution specifically prohibits both executing prisoners without a trial and inflicting cruel and unusual punishment on them. Judge McCluskey's decision impliedly but necessarily says Walters is right and the Constitution is meaningless, or at least his argument is so strong he has at least a 50-50 chance of winning. But even if Walters is right and he did not have a legal duty to intervene and stop Brooks' murder, that's what the law calls harmless error, because there's an additional and independent factual basis to sustain Walters' manslaughter conviction. Walters' argument and Justice McCluskey's decision ignores that Walters also admitted, and video shows, he verbally instructed a nurse who attempted to enter the emergency room to attend to Mr. Brooks while he was being killed to not to enter the emergency room. In other words, even if Walters did not have a legal duty to intervene to stop other guards from killing Brooks, his admission he stopped a nurse from aiding Brooks is enough in itself to make him guilty of manslaughter. Fitzpatrick, the special prosecutor, said late Wednesday night his office was checking to see if he could appeal McCluskey's decision. Tell me what you guys feel about this. How do you guys feel about David Walters here being out on bail pending his appeal? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. That would be greatly appreciated. We have one more story to go through. This for me is the top story in terms of this is not really being reported out there in terms of what family members are going through. But before I jump into that story, I'm going to ask if people can please do me a favor. Please like this stream. Thank you for your patience for with my audio issues. You guys are still sticking around. I really appreciate that. Please like the stream, share it, comment. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. This next article is a doozy for you. Many people are not going to believe that this is actually happening in the United States of America in New York State. I really hard to see, but very quickly, I'm going to drop again the link to come and chat with me. If somebody wants to come on and connect, I will do so at the end of this article. Come on, a couple of quick rules. Be willing to share your camera. No loud music in the back, and let's be respectful. All right, I'm going to pull up the article. Okay, here we go. State prisons are turning away visitors after scanners pick up their tampons. You can't make this up. people that see this are going to think that this is not effing real, that this is real. People have been emailing me about being denied visitation in various New York State facilities. The body scanners are being weaponized. Let's move on and go with the article. So this story originally appeared in New York Focus, a nonprofit news publication investigating power in New York. Here we go. Guards demanded body scanners to cut down on contraband. Now they're turning away visitors over their hygiene and medical supplies. You really can't make this up. Visitors to New York State prisons now must pass through body scanners in order to qualify for a full contact visit in which they can sit at a table with their incarcerated loved one and touch them. Vanessa Kelder was weeks away from getting married when, in early August, she went to visit her fiancé in central New York's Auburn Correctional Facility, where he's incarcerated. She followed the same procedures she did in previous visits. She said, and wore the same kind of leggings she usually wears to the prison. This time, however, officers stopped her after she went through one of the facility's body scanners. They ordered her to go in the scanner again, then turn around and bend over. A few minutes later, 2 male officers arrived to view her scans, she said. They told her they were turning her away based on what they saw. Kelder had no idea what it was. Quote, "I know damn well that I didn't bring anything in that was illegal," she said. Letters she and her fiancé later received from the prison agency said the scan had revealed an unknown object in her vaginal area, which she realized must have been her piercing. She'd gone through the body scanners with the piercing before. It's unclear why officers only flagged her this time. They suspended her visiting privileges for 6 months. Her wedding would have to wait. Attorneys, advocates, and legislators say they have repeatedly heard stories like Kelder since earlier this year, when New York State Prison Agency started requiring most people to go through scanners before visits with their loved ones. The agency implemented the body scanning policy shortly after a 3-week corrections officer strike in March. And advocates say they started hearing high numbers of complaints over the summer. The scanner rollout was one of the striking officers' demands, aimed at reducing cavity searches and alleviating what they described as high numbers of visitors smuggling drugs and other contraband into the facilities. Officers themselves are a steady source of contraband, and most New York State prison guards refuse to go through body scanners. For those of you who don't recall, I recently covered the story of the Marcy Iman, who committed suicide, brought a firearm into Marcy Correctional. So this myth that the bulk of contraband is coming from the loved ones of incarcerated individuals, it's not true. Besides from the prison industry, the money that comes into these prisons, these towns, because of prisons, there's a secondary industry of contraband, and correction officers are making a lot of money smuggling in narcotics and other contraband items like phones. So this thing about blaming families is just, it's ridiculous. Let's go back to the article. The scanner rollout was one of the striking officers. Oh, okay. I read that already. Visitors now must pass through body scanners in order to qualify for a full contact visit in which they can sit at a table with their incarcerated loved one and touch them. The scanners use X-ray imaging to identify physical anomalies, including items under someone's clothing and inside their body. Under the new body scanner policy, only published as an official directive in September, Staff should deny visitors entry to a prison if they're found with contraband or if they are unable to clear the body scanner screening, though it doesn't define what it means to quote unquote clear the scan. Guards are turning away visitors away after their body scans pick up normal anatomy, medical conditions, and predictable artifacts, said Michelle Bonet, an advocate who has been organizing prison families since the strike. That can include piercings like Kelder's. Menstrual or contraceptive products like tampons and intrauterine devices also get flagged. Advocates and visitors told New York Focus. A vast majority of those flagged are women. The advocates have noted. This month, the New York Civil Liberties Union sent a letter to the state prison agency asserting that its body scanner practices amounted to sex discrimination. Protocols with respect to scanning and visitation do not appear to take into account that women menstruate, need to use menstrual products, and will frequently have tampons or other reproductive healthcare devices in their body cavities, the letter said. The Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, DOCS, which runs the state prison system, did not answer questions about specific allegations regarding the body scanners, but instead sent a statement detailing its visitation and mail security policies. Contraband such as drugs and weapons contribute to violence in prisons, the statement said. Menstrual products, surgical scars, and gastrointestinal anomalies can create shadows or densities that inexperienced staff misinterpret. That was Michelle Bonet, New York State DOCS Federal Oversight. DOCS ordered the scanners made by the company Tech 84 in December 2023, paying nearly $13 million for them. Tech 84 declined a request for comment, stating that they do not comment on customer operations. Before the March policy change, visitors had to pass through metal detectors and were often subjected to scent detection dogs, said Mark Cannon, a New York-based civil rights and criminal defense attorney. Those methods raised complaints about aggressive and invasive searches, he said, but the body scan cases are much more frequent. The issue stems from guards' interpretation of the scanner images, which varies from officer to officer. Advocates and visitors said, and may explain why some, like Kelder, have gone through the machines without issue in the past. The most common source of false positives: menstrual products, surgical scars, gastrointestinal anomalies can create shadows or densities that inexperienced staff misinterpret. Said Bonet, across nearly all reports, the core issue is misinterpretation. James Bogan, senior supervising attorney at Prisoners Legal Services of New York, said his organization has been hearing from people, always women, who were denied visits on the basis of scans a few times a week. He said many of them get barred from visiting their loved ones, sometimes temporarily, sometimes indefinitely. Most aren't getting a chance to prove they're not trying to smuggle things into the prison. Advocates and visitors said the scanner is not proof of contraband, but they are treating it like proof of contraband, said Cannon. Those who do not get a chance to plead their case report being forced to remove their menstrual products and endure humiliating and dehumanizing scrutiny. According to the NYCLU, in October, Caroline Hansen and her 16-year-old daughter drove 3 hours from their home on Long Island to visit Hansen's husband at Eastern Correctional Facility. Hansen had gone through the body scanners before, she told New York Focus, but this time she was using a tampon. When Hansen got to the scanner, guards ran the machine several times, which was unusual, she said. Eventually, an officer had her step into a back room. When she opened the door, she found herself face to face with 3 male officers and a dog. This is how horror movies start, she remembered thinking. The officers interrogated her, asking to search her and her car. They had the dog smell her several times, she said. Hansen offered to remove her tampon and go back through the machine. The officers searched the bathroom before and after she used it, but ultimately allowed her to remove the tampon and go back through the scanner. This is absolutely bonkers. By that point, Hansen said she and her daughter were both hysterical. The experience was dehumanizing, she said. Prison officials then denied the pair their usual visit at a table where they could touch and interact. Instead, they were downgraded to a no-contact visit and had to speak to her husband through a pane of glass. Now, I just don't go when I'm on my period, Hansen said. I don't want to deal with that again. Hansen said she has seen other women go through similar experiences in the last several months. One person she saw in line at the prison told her that staff turned her away because they saw her IUD in the scan. She had to return with a doctor's note, she said. State Senator Julia Salazar, who chairs the Chamber's Correction Committee, said that her office has received around 50 complaints in recent months from people across the state about DOC's employees denying visits, ostensibly due to body scans. In June, she introduced a bill that would prohibit jails and prisons from denying visitors entry or contact visits because they are menstruating or using contraceptive devices. While Salazar believes it makes sense for prison staff to decide whether or not to grant a contact visit, their expertise as security professionals cannot be trusted and can't be used as an excuse to deny visitation arbitrarily, she added. Salazar's office said that DOCS has said that staff are properly trained on the scanners, but the senator's staff hasn't seen what the training entails. From what we've seen, they do whatever they want. Shafiqa Koala, a spokesperson for Salazar, said. Staff need to be trained and to be sensitized to the fact that this is a clear discrimination issue, said Ife, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce this name wrong, Ife Chikezi, staff attorney at the NYCLU. Prison officials in other states have said that officers cannot visually distinguish a scan that indicates the presence of a tampon from one that indicates the presence of drugs, leading to guards being fired and women being denied visits. In its statement, DOCS did not respond to requests for data showing whether use of the scanners have reduced the amount of contraband entering prisons. The new policy doesn't do much to cut down on contraband and that staff bring into prisons. Employees are occasionally randomly screened, but have the right to request methods that don't include a body scanner. Visitors can request that DOCS exempt them from body scans if they have a medical condition that would be impacted by the radiation or other effects of the body scanners. During a public hearing held by the state legislature in May, DOCS commissioner testified that approximately 80 to 90% of visitors willingly pass through the body scanners, while approximately 80 to 90% of staff refuse. Sydney Umstead, a graduate student who contributed to this article, attempted to visit a pen pal she has who was incarcerated at Arborn Prison in August. Prison officials said they saw something on her scan and that she wouldn't be allowed to visit that day. It's like a pass or fail system, and you failed, an officer said. Approximately 80 to 90% of visitors willingly pass through the body scanners, while 80 to 90% of staff refuse. Officials never told her where on her body the problem was. Umstead was not using any menstrual products and has no lower body piercings. Shortly after her attempted visit, she received a letter stating that she was banned from all state prisons for 180 days. The letter states that the scanner had detected the presence of an object inside her body that's inconsistent with human anatomy. Umstead doesn't know what it picked up and has received no communication from docs in regard to her appeal. Docs has restricted visitation in other ways. In May, the agency announced that its facilities would permit weekend visits only due to staffing shortages. This means that many visitors come at once, and when they arrive, in many cases, after having spent hours in transit, they must then wait several hours more to see their loved ones. When it's their turn to be scanned, some are turned away based on the results. By the way, I see you, Jamel, in the back studio. Just give me a few minutes and I'll be with you. Okay. Kelder, who was suspended from visiting Auburn, has to leave her house by 3 a.m. to make the 2.5-hour drive to spend time with her fiance during their allotted visits every 2 weeks. You have to be one of the first in line to get ample visitation time. If you're not in line by 6:30, you're waiting, she said. Kelder ultimately appealed her suspension, sending doctor's notes that showed her piercing, as well as titanium in her arm. In a follow-up letter, docs upheld the basis for the original denial, but reduced the length of her suspension and restored her visiting rights. The episode derailed her wedding because Kelder had been barred from visiting her fiancé while challenging the suspension. The couple had to restart the complex process of prison marriage, which involves lining up a number of appointments with various prison officials and the local town clerk. That process is back on track, but Kelder worries about future visits. What are you going to accuse me of bringing in next time, she said. And that is the end of the article. That's the end of the article. Tell me, what do you guys feel about this? I mean, this is very surreal. This seems very very dystopian that this would actually occur. Women being denied visits because of what appears in that body scan, being denied visitations for 180 days at a time. Like you really can't make this up. So I'm going to bring up Jamel in the back. I'm going to add you to the stage.
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I love the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
I'm very fine. I've been trying to get in touch. I've been trying to get in touch with you for the last year.
For the last year? You're kidding me. So talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind.
No. See, the thing is, I am one of the gentlemen who is actually fighting the Department of Corrections from the streets. I am the gentleman who originally sued Andrew Cuomo to get him to sign the bills to get us out of jail in 2012. I am now sitting here still on parole after being released after 2012 for don't know why, but I am trying to inform everybody, and you also. I've been watching your program, okay? We have a very huge problem, and I'm going to explain it to you. We have the court systems here in New York State are actually involved with the Corrections Officers Union here. I have an inside track down here in Buffalo, New York. I can't say who it is, but I got the information. I have a sitting order in front of Susan Egan forcing the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision to follow the Less is More Act and stop reincarcerating people for behavior without no criminal convictions. We have over 1,500 people locked up in New York State, right in Buffalo, New York, right now for falsified parole violations, where they are switching from technical violations to non-technical, and they are recarcerating people back into the state penitentiary. So right now we have a list of 700 people waiting to go back to the state penitentiary for curfew violations here in Buffalo, New York.
Gotcha. So talk to me
Yeah,
about these
and
parole violations, or are these parole violations occurring? Are they unjust? People sitting in county
yes,
jails.
um, yes. What's happening is parole is actually falsifying arrests with parole documentation. There's no arrest in no city or county records. What parole is doing, they'll get you in front of the reconnaissance judge, who is Judge Gibbons and Judge William Bowler, and they will hold you at your reconnaissance hearing and send you through the parole proceedings. Now, while in the parole proceedings here in Western New York, they are switching technicals at your parole hearing after 30 days to non-technicals to justify holding you in the Erie County Holding Center past the 30 days. So what's happening is when you go to your hearing, they will make upon the record that you were never originally arrested for a crime, but parole is criminally charging you for obstruction of governmental administration. I can show you. I just came home after doing 90 days when I'm not even supposed to be on parole, after Susan Egan ordered them to release me. She ordered them to release me from this hearing right here. I would love to get your email. I can send you documentation for over 12 years, not just within out here, but I also have been sent back to the prison system illegally, where the Attorney General has admitted that I was never supposed to have been sent back to the state prison system for a charge I was never charged with.
And you also mentioned a term. You said technical and non-technical. Can you define what that is and what you mean by that?
Say, for instance, the non-technical violation, I am not a sex offender. I was convicted of murder in the second degree for a fist fight. Everybody in Buffalo knows about it. No secret. Everybody knows in the state system. I'm the only man in New York State history who has got a murder conviction for a fist fight. Seriously, in 1995. What they're doing is a technical is when you are, which is a curfew or, not reporting a program and things of that nature. Those are technical violations. They are taking those technical violations and classify them as Rule 8 behavior, which the less is more is taken away. And they are turning that into a non-technical violation, which only a non-technical can happen if you are a sex offender or you have been arrested for a criminal offense. And people are up here are not getting arrested for nothing like that. It's very big going on in New York State, and I'm glad you are reporting on it. We actually know for a fact that the Corrections Officers Union is very much involved in our court systems here, especially after the situation that happened with the young man in Wendy Correctional Facility. I actually went to Wendy Correctional Facility myself and stood outside, asked a few questions and things of that nature, because I personally do my own personal investigation on the prison system because I've done 20 plus years there and I know what they do. I've seen them kill people. I was almost a victim of, like, Robert Brooks, and many people know. This situation is a little bit bigger than what people are thinking here. It's very political, and it's a movement out here where, I hate to say this, that they're making it racial.
Yeah.
They're making this racial. It's nothing going on within the city limits where it's mostly, ethnicity is. These rural areas, especially in that Attica, anybody's listening, if you have family in Attica, Wendy, Wyoming, Collins, please check on them. up here because they know if you're from New York City, they know it's hard for your family to get up here, they will target you. Please, melanated people, understand that. They will target you. I have been targeted. I have been posting it on social media. I've had parole officers and even corrections officers from the corrections department from Wyoming Corrections comes to my house and try to request me to open my door so they can search. You can go on your God marks and check it. I posted it. It done had over 20-some thousand views. You can see it for yourself. They don't have no fear in New York State. They're going to do what they want to do. They have their plants in the legal department and very bad. And I wanted to send you some documentation so you could take time to review it and post it for your people and all the people, because I have documentation that's can blow some people's heads back. This is why I've been on parole for the last 12 plus years when I was only supposed to be on it 3.
Wow. Jamel,
My DIN number is 96 Baker 1292. I should not be parole no more. I'm under my
what is your opinion, or like what's your reaction to this last story about women going through body scanners and these correction officers denying visitation and turning families away, and docs basically denying some family members 180 days? Like, tell me your thoughts on that.
That's one of the reasons why. That was one of the reasons why I went up to Wendy to find out about it. I know another young lady who was denied for the exact same thing. The exact same thing. It's just that she didn't have something to go up in her. She actually had the other thing the women use to line their underwear with, and they denied her for that.
Okay.
It's a common thing. It's done based upon a discretion. If they don't like the prisoner, then they're going to bother his family if they do show up. That's common. That's been going on for years. It's nothing new under the sun. And there's nothing, and truthfully to tell you, there's nothing really nobody can do about it unless somebody's right there that's watching, who's supposed to be watching the prisoners. Because there's more corruption going on with the administration and the people who work in there, because they feel they'll never run into the people who they have to look over. And that's just what it is. It's deep. It's unseasoned. There's no people who work in the mass majority in the prison system who have any culture, meaning they're not cultured. They haven't been around people to understand different cultures and things of that nature. And it's a mind state of militant. Period. I actually live across the street from a corrections officer now, and he just put his retirement papers in. I don't want to tell his business, but he's been summoned because of a situation in Wendy, and he's not standing by his coworkers.
Okay. Interesting. So interesting,
right?
Yeah. What do you think of David Walters? He was sentenced. Now he's back on the street. He made bail. Pending, his appeal is pending. Now, for me, that seems very unheard of. You got people waiting years to get their appeals, and he was able to make bail very soon after being sentenced. Tell me your thoughts about that.
I'd say this to you. I like to. I'm an old timer. I'm 51. I may look a little young, but I'm 51. I remember a time, not just for myself. I remember a time when a famous person named Tupac Shakur was in our prison systems here in New York State. And they placed his appeal bail was 1.5 million. And that was for an assault they know he did not do, but he was a part of it. They just let this man go, who we watched. That rubs me the wrong way, man.
Yeah.
You gotta understand, I'm a prisoner who's trying to make it out here in the world as a productive member of society. And when I see something like that, and I went to jail for a fist fight for defending myself, and this man was able to not get bail, really never go to jail, and may not go to jail, because the way this system is going to work, and I know how them counties is up there. There's going to be some evidence missing or something where they're going to say he didn't have a fair trial. That man will never step foot in prison. He's too strong. I know that. I know who he is personally. I was in Marcy Correctional Facility in 2020. I was in G2. I know every last one of them.
Wow.
So I'm honestly, I don't want to have no feelings towards it because it sends me to a mental place where it is that I can actually speak for a lot of prisoners. Like, it's just us. There's no justice. It's just us. And it's bad.
So what do you think are some solutions? Because it's, Robert Brooks was killed, a little over a year ago. We know, and the general public may not know. They may want to keep their eyes closed because they don't care. But we know there's been hundreds of other men and women that have been killed. Their deaths have been listed as natural causes, right? So what do you think are some solutions? Like, what do you think is really going to make some systemic change?
This is the idea. I'm just throwing it out there, and I had this idea for a few years. I believe in every area of the state. Break it down just like they do west, east, south, north. I believe each area of every major concentration where there's facilities, I believe the public should be able to have a committee to review everything that goes on because it's their taxpayers' money that's being spent. I think there should be a committee in every area where there's major jails where the public is allowed to go in and see and talk and find out what's going on. I guarantee things will stop then. When the public can come in that facility, any facility, it changes. I've been in facilities 20 years. Every time someone was coming, 3 to 4 days, the population was told how to act.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a watchdog agency that's not a part of the New York State government system that has the same authoritarianism, as I say, and they can just walk in there and go see and talk, and what they say matters, and they're civilians, that will change the complexion of a lot of things that goes on in that prison system.
Yeah.
Because the public will have an outcry of how much of their tax dollars is going to waste, and they'll be surprised at how many people you have wrongfully incarcerated, and those who are being held incarcerated a little bit too long because a CO or somebody just don't like them, and it's a lot of that going on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I covered a story about Michael Peacock, who was a witness in the Robert Brooks case. Are you familiar with him and his testimony in the Robert Brooks trial? That it's basically reported he would have been out already, but because he testified, he was a target, and they made his life a living hell. A living hell.
Yeah, the young man, I salute him for standing up. Number one. I got a phone call right when he got there. They moved him to what's called the snake pit in Attica. So, hopefully his family and people know that sees this. He does have people that's going to stand by him that's up here in Buffalo that will run to them jails. Do not worry. We are on point, just so his family knows. All right? There's a bunch of us up here. We're not going to allow too much to happen. We will be in the jails fast as possible. Because we knew that was going to happen. That's what happens in the Department of Corrections. It happens for just simply testifying at a disciplinary hearing for another prisoner. So if people didn't think that there was not going to be any retaliation, and if people really thought that that district attorney was going to really make sure that the Department of Corrections keep that young man safe, they had another thing coming. He's down with it. I'm sorry, I have to say what it is. I know that DA, and I know him from the community. I knew some of them was going to get off.
Yeah.
I knew it.
And you also call where Michael Peacock is the snake pit. Why the snake pit?
Snake pit is an area in Attica where they put you. It's called long-term key lock. They call it a snake pit because there's certain officers that work there. They're really bribable, I should say. So if you want to, as you being locked in your cell for that 23 hours a day, or because they're not following the HALT Act in the prison system, I'm gonna let you know that now. They're still doing the 23-1 where they can in certain facilities. Trust me. So if you're in the snake pit, you want your TV, you want your hot pot. These are your things that you brought with you. They'll take it and sell it back to you.
Wow.
So when he got there, he got there injured.
Wow.
Yeah. When they put him in the cell and they didn't give him no medical.
Yep. Is there anything else you want to tell the public before we wrap up?
Yes, I would love to tell the public, man, if you have family members in that Department of Corrections or any incarceration institution, I don't care if it's county jail right now. In this day and age, what we got going on where people are following this Trump, they're not following the law unless they like it. Please check on your family. Make sure they are all right. Stand up with them. If you got to get to them jails and protest and stand out there and march, just contact us. And we'll try to get to you to help you. And people can contact me on Facebook at Jagard Marks, and I do my best to help out too.
Okay. All right, Jamal, I really appreciate your time. Thank
And I
you
want
for
to give
coming on and shedding some light.
I want to give one shout out to Thomas Gant. I respect that young man. I did time with him. He changed his life. And anybody, if you're around Thomas Gant, stay around that young man. He could change your life.
God bless him. Jamal, God bless you. And hopefully we'll definitely connect soon. I would love to have you back.
Please do. And please check that information I sent you through the chat.
Okay. I will.
Thank you.
All right. You have a good night. Take it easy. All right. That was Jamal. Okay. It has been a doozy of a night. I want to thank everyone for staying on, staying committed. Please do me a favor. This is a small YouTube channel. The algorithm does not really support this type of material, this type of content. It definitely takes people like you who are committed to spread the word. So if you can like the stream, share it, feel free to put your comments. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to start to wind down. As I say in all of my live streams, my goal is to go deeper than what the mainstream media is telling and sharing with you. Everyone take care, God bless, and I will see you next time.